Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another weekly chart breakdown, and as always we start off on my favorite pair, GBPJPY, and we start off on the weekly time frame. So looking at GJ on the weekly time frame, we can still see that price is in an overall bullish trend, creating new higher highs and higher lows all of the time. Now looking at the last weekly candle, we can see that it closed in a strong rejection candle, leaving a huge wick to the downside, as you can see here, meaning that there is a lot of buying pressure still around this area here. Now coming down into the daily time frame, we can also see that price did break below these lows right here with this bearish candle, but the next candle immediately closed back above that support, also forming a form of a tweezer bottom pattern, indicating that buyers are still very much in control. And now coming down into the 4-hour time frame, here are the scenarios that we could be looking for. So the first area to look for buys will be to wait for a pullback into this minor 4-hour support, then wait for some type of entry signal to then take buys up into this next daily resistance here. Or we can wait for more of a steeper pullback down into this daily support area here, and once price reaches here, we can see buys up into this next resistance here. Now if price should break below these lows here, as you can see here, and here, so if pressure break under here, then we could wait for a 4-hour candle close, wait for a pullback, wait for an entry signal to then take sales back down into this daily support here, or maybe even down into this lows here. But if that does not happen, I will not be looking for sales unless that happens. Now if once the market opens we get more volume, we could see a break above this resistance and wait for a 4-hour candle close, wait for a pullback, wait for an entry signal to then take buys up into this next support and resistance area right here, which we have marked off here as well. But my BS on GJ overall still very bullish, and let's see how this week price will like to move. Okay, so now coming to GBPUSD, here we also start off on the weekly time frame, and here on the weekly time frame we can still see that price is still in a very bullish trend, creating higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, currently at this resistance and support area right here on the weekly time frame. And the weekly candle closed in form of a indecision candle or in form of a doji, meaning that in this area the market is overall indecisive and we could go in either way. But keeping in mind the overall trend and that it's bullish, there's a very high probability that from this point on we will continue the bullish route. Now coming down into the daily time frame, we can see that we did have some bearish momentum to the downside right here. So this was the first bearish impulse, a smaller bullish impulse, a big bearish impulse, and now another small bullish impulse. So as long as price maintains below this resistance area here, we could still see price bounce around this range here before continuing the overall bullish trend, meaning that coming down into the 4-hour time frame, these are pretty much the scenarios that we could be looking for. So since the 4-hour time frame is pretty bearish right now, we could wait for a break of structure on the 4-hour time frame to then take advantage of buys to the upside. So basically areas to look for buys will be, as long as price maintains above this area here, we could see buys up into this resistance here, then wait for a break and retest above this support area here and resistance here. Wait for a pullback, wait for an entry signal, take buys up into this next resistance. So it's just basically from zone to zone, right? But if price closes back under here or here, here's where we could wait for a minor pullback, then wait for an entry signal to take sales back down into support here. Now these will be medium or low probability sells. The high probability sells will be if we wait for the break of this support area here on the daily time frame, then wait for a close, wait for a pullback to then take sales all the way back down and maybe even down into this area here. But until that happens, I will mainly be looking for buys because the weekly time frame is still in a very bullish trend. And if on the daily time frame we do get that switch to the bullish side, that will be amazing, meaning that we need to break these highs here. We need a closure above this last lower high here. So it would be something like this. Wait for a closure above, then wait for a new higher low to be created, and then wait for the new higher high to then reach new highs or equal highs right here. Now coming to the pair gold dollar on the weekly time frame, price is still in this range right here, just stuck in between this resistance and this support area here, where it has been stuck for a while now. So it's just bouncing in this range, came down, came back above. Now it's again dude, this looks like something else. Okay, so price is just like in this range bouncing around. So coming down into the daily time frame, The daily time frame also is not really saying much. All I can recognize here is a form of an inverted head and shoulder pattern. So we have the left shoulder, we have the head, and we have the right shoulder, right? So ideal on head and shoulder patterns, we want to wait for a breakout of the neckline, we wait for a closure, then we wait for a pullback into this area to then take safer buys to the upside. So that could be something we could be looking for. But coming down into the 4-hour time frame, ultimately these are the scenarios that could play out in this range here. So another pullback into support, then wait for a buy confirmation, take bias up into this resistance or maybe into the next resistance. If support does not hold, we wait for a break, a closure, pullback, sells down into this next support here, and the same thing to the upside. So close above the 4-hour resistance, pullback, entry signal for a smaller position in buys. And now ultimately the high probability bias will be if we get a break and a close above this resistance here, wait for a pullback to then take safer buys to the upside. So that's basically the scenario that I personally will be waiting for, is a break of these highs to then take safer buys to the upside. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the weekly chart breakdown, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.